Hello, everyone. In this video, we are all going to learn about a powerful concept known as Poka Yoke. And it's sometimes referred to by many as a mistake or error proofing. No? Specifically, we'll learn what Poka Yoke is and why it's so important for any continuous improvement practitioner to understand and practice. You'll also learn what the different types of Poka Yoke devices are, while also seeing some examples of different mistake proofing devices in action. Um, so let us get started. First start the question. Do you know why most manholes are round? To be sure, there are many reasons and theories of why manholes are round, but one of the most significant reasons is because apparently a round cover can never fall into the hole, whereas a square or rectangular manhole cover could in fact fall into the hole if inserted the wrong way. As it turns out, a round manhole is an example of what's known as Poka Yoke device. Okay, let's go now to definition. Formally defined, Poka-yoke is an error proofing technique. Poka means error or mistake, and yoke means to avoid. The true purpose of Poka-yoke is to avoid errors or mistakes. And believe it or not, we're all surrounded by Poka-yoke devices. So take this bathroom sink for an example, another example. A potential mistake is that someone may close the drain plug, start running water, and walk away. And then after a few seconds, water could potentially spill out of the sink unless, of course, the sink has a drain hole. Now, this drain hole is another example of everyday Poka-yoke. Okay? In fact, any time a new product or process is being developed, thinking of ways to mistake-proof the product or process, just maybe some of the best time spent. So that's how we introduce Poka Yoke. Now, why do we use Poka Yoke? It's such an important part of authentic continuous improvement. No, we begin by exploring the relationship between errors and defects. So if we think of an iceberg here, the part everyone sees is the top, which is analogous to the defect. And as we all know, the largest part of an iceberg is totally out of sight below the water. So this part of the iceberg is analogous to errors or mistakes. So put another way, errors are any deviation from the process, and defects are produced when products or processes deviate from the specifications or don't meet the expectations of our customer. So in other words, defects are created by errors. To be sure, not all defects are created equal. And how we explain it, let's explore 5 levels of defects. First, the most severe situation is when defects are shipped to customers. Then the second level is when defects are found and contained in-house. So in many cases, guys, this occurs during an end-of-line functional test or inspection process. And then we have the third level, and this occurs when defects are being attacked and reduced. That's the third level. Now we go to the fourth level. This occurs when defects are found and encountered at the source of the problem. So in other words, guys, once properly countered, this defect should never reoccur for the same root cause. Okay. And lastly, the most favorable situation occurs when defects aren't produced at all. So by finding errors and preventing, which is this is precisely what Poka Yoke is meant to do, and we can prevent defects. So in addition to preventing defects, there are other reasons that Poka Yoke is so important. Well, one of these reasons is due to something called the autopilot effect. Okay, what about the autopilot effect? Okay. Autopilot, there is a certain book called The Design of Everyday Things. Donald Normal states the human brain's default mode of operation is pattern recognition and autopilot execution. So if the pattern, guys, is familiar, that's what it says. A behavior that has been successful in the past is launched. It's only when feedback suggests that things are not going as planned, but more in depth thought is called. Okay. For example, have you ever driven to or from work and not remembered it? Or have you ever driven home, even your significant other specifically ask you to stop at the store? Or do your operators sometimes struggle when standard work is updated? So these are just a few examples of how powerful the autopilot effect can be and why not. Controls can actually lead to problems, including the creation of defects. So with this said, since most of us work closely with other human beings, it can also be helpful to understand the many different types of um, error that we humans unfortunately make from time to time. So of course, just because these errors are induced by humans doesn't mean doesn't mean we ever want to blame people, okay? Instead, we must always put our focus on how we can improve the process, making it difficult, if not impossible, to ever make another mistake again. Okay, let's go over to the next section, which is 8 different types of human errors. Um, and these errors can lead to defects. Okay, we begin with forgetfulness, mindfulness, misunderstanding of errors detection errors, willful errors, inadvertent errors, errors due to slowness, errors due to standards, and supervision. So in order, guys, to combat these human errors, there are different levels of mistake proofing that we can employ. What are those? Let's go over. All right. The first level, level 0, focuses on things such as training, standardization, and things such as control plans and SPC. And then we have, next we have level 1, error proofing. So we're able to identify the error with a warning such as an alarm and on light. Then we have level 2, error proofing, where the error is identified and the machine or process halts and waits for corrective action. And then we have level 3, error proofing, where the error is not only identified, but it also is corrected automatically. And lastly, we have level 4. This error proofing makes it impossible for the error to occur. So obviously, our goal should be eventually get to level 4, error proofing, assuming it's feasible and realistic. I mentioned feasible since the cost of error proofing must always be taken into consideration, no? So to be sure, the best error proof devices are normally inexpensive and homegrown in nature. And then we start talking about the types of Poka Yoke devices. Okay. First, we have the warning signal. So let's go over to the next slide. We have the warning signal Poka Yoke. Now, this may be things such as in lights, as shown here, or even buzzers or other audible signals. The goal with this device is simple: don't pass on bad quality. And then second, we have shutdown Poka Yoke. And this may involve a stop the line cord or some sort of auto defect. auto detect and stop device. So additionally, things like counters that force the process to stop are examples of shutdown error proof devices. And then the primary function of these devices really is don't accept bad quality. Then lastly, control Poka Yoke devices include things such as locator pins, making it impossible to plug something in wrong, or stoppers, or fixtures, or even indicator lights helping assemblers pick the correct part. No? Okay, the main goal here is simple. Don't make bad quality parts. And that said, no matter what type of error proofing device is used, there are many different ways of implementing them actually. So we go over to the implementation part, implementing error proofing devices. First, manual devices. They are often found to be extremely effective and inexpensive. So in other words, we may add a locator pin to a fixture, making it easier to load the part. Then second, we have automation. We can leverage automation. For example, we may use photoelectric sensors or other sophisticated vision systems in order to verify parts that have been properly produced. And then we have the third, error proofing can be built into the design of the product or service. So for example, the size of a diesel fuel nozzle and is typically of a different size than a gasoline nozzle, making it difficult for someone to mistakenly put diesel fuel into their gasoline powered vehicle. No, so far, we've learned what Poka Yoke is, why it's important, and the different types of devices that we can use. Now, it's time to switch gears a bit and talk about how to go about implementing Poka Yoke. First of all, once an error is detected, we should immediately contain the problem in order, of course, to protect our customer. Um, and this may require the so-called band-aid solution, no? Meaning a temporary solution is put in place. Now, once the problem has been contained, you should immediately enter into problem-solving mode in order to identify countermeasures that result in the creation of a Poka Yoke device or even multiple devices. And then also, we should continuously strive for zero defects. For example, we have perhaps a warning and on light installed to alert us to when a defect is produced, or when which then helps prevent defects from being passed on. No, perhaps we can even find better device that makes it impossible to produce a defect. So there is a set of questions, a couple maybe, that can be used to ensure your Poka Yoga device will be safe and effective. Okay, one, does it prevent the reoccurrence of the error? And then two, does it use wits over wallet? So in other words, the best error proofing devices are usually inexpensive and creative. You don't need to spend a lot of money to mistake proof a process. We also want to ensure the device is easy to use, it's safe, and is simple to implement. And then finally, we should also be able to easily maintain the device, no? And it should be, of course, durable. So that said, the ultimate test of any Poka Yoga device is to intentionally try to make it fail. So you see, human beings are very ingenious and may eventually find situations where the Poka Yoga will fail to prevent an error. So for example, with a little work or even even a square peg can fit into a round hole. See if it's possible to. So you see, if it's possible to make your Poka device fail under normal or simulated working conditions. So that's all there is to it, at least for now, Sterling friends. In the next videos, we'll have more discussions on the other problem solving techniques that we can techniques and tools that we can use. If you enjoy this video and you'd like to see similar videos in the future, of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel down below, and so that you can notify of subsequent important updates and trainings. Please do hit the notification bell as well. That's all for today. Thank you guys, and bye.